There's a new series starting on the British Museum's YouTube channel. No, this is it. This is the series. I'm making it. It's a conservation series, and we're going to follow the conservation of this ancient Egyptian cartonnage. It's a new acquisition for the museum, and it only came into the collection in 2018. But as you can see, it needs a little bit of attention, which is why we have this conservation project led by Verena Kotonski.
My name is Verena Kotonski. I'm conservator for organic artifacts here at the British Museum. In recent years, I've been focusing more and more on the conservation of ancient Egyptian artifacts. And in the coming month, I will be conserving this cartonnage, which consists of two halves. We've got the base, which is currently upside down, and the lid, which then would have encased the mummy. Due to its bad condition, it's a real challenge for me as a conservator, but at the same time it's also really exciting because due to its bad condition we can actually see how the cartonnage has been constructed, and that will hopefully contribute to the research in this field. But also, again, for me as a conservator, I might be able to try out new conservation techniques and materials.
I know it sounded like she said month, but what she meant to say was months, because this is a long project, as you can imagine. I actually started documenting Verena working on this in October 2019. Now, I know that seems like a very long time ago and no one can really remember that far back, but here at the British Museum we try and cast our minds back every now and again. But as I said, it's a new acquisition. And we're also going to hear from the curator, John Taylor, who's the curator for ancient Egypt at the British Museum. He knows quite a lot about Egypt. He knows quite a lot about burial practices in ancient Egypt. We're going to be hearing more from him. And we'll be following the story of this conservation project. I think that's probably enough of an introduction from me. Shall we hear from the experts?
It's quite unusual for something like a cartonnage mummy case to become available for the museum to acquire. And often when this kind of object does appear, it has very little history. We may know nothing about whereabouts it was found or what was found with it. But in the case of the Sherborne Castle cartonnage, the situation is rather different, and this is one of the things that makes it so important, because we do know exactly where this cartonnage was discovered, who found it, and what were the circumstances of the excavation. Because of this, we can use the cartonnage in a much more constructive way to interpret something about burial practices on the southern tip of Egypt in the Ptolemaic period. We know about the cartonnage's history because it was excavated as part of a large-scale salvage operation which began in 1907 at the southern boundary of Egypt near Aswan. And at that time, the Egyptian government were planning to raise the height of the Aswan Dam. This would mean flooding a number of archaeological sites in the immediate area. So they planned a large rescue operation. Many sites were excavated. The excavations at the beginning were carried out by a very important archaeologist, George Reisner, an American scholar based at Harvard, and he was the person who directed the excavations where the cartonnage was discovered. Now, Reisner is a very significant figure in Egyptology because he was one of the great pioneers of scientific method. And for the time, his reports, his archaeological reports, are some of the best that were issued. So straight away, this gives an advantage to what we know about the cartonnage. In 1907, Reisner began excavating. And one particular place that he focused on was the island of El Hesa, which is just to the south of Aswan and close to the site of the temples of Philae. And on this island, Reisner and his team excavated a cemetery which contained a number of tombs. 17 of them were completely untouched, totally undisturbed. And in his report, he describes what was found in each of these tombs with maps and plans and photographs of the objects as well. Now, one of these tombs contained 2 burials. It was a rock-cut chamber, blocked up with stones, and inside Reisner found 2 stone sarcophagi, quite plain, without inscriptions. Inside the sarcophagi were mummies contained in cartonnage casing, and one of these was the one which was later acquired by Sherborne Castle. Fortunately, we have a detailed record of the opening of the tomb and photographs of the cartonnage in situ, and then the cartonnage opened up with the lid taken off so that you can see the mummy in its linen wrappings. Now, where the mummy is today, we don't know, but the cartonnage case was sent to Cairo after the excavations were completed, and there, several years later, it was bought by Frederick Wingfield Digby, a member of the family who owned Sherborne Castle. And fortunately, we have a letter from Mr. Wingfield Digby in which he explains that he is about to acquire from the Cairo Museum a coffin, which we know now to be the cartonnage in question. And this is rather important because this explains to us how the object came to leave Egypt. At the time, and this was during the First World War, the Egyptian Museum in Cairo had a sale room, and in the sale room, objects that were regarded as superfluous to the collection were offered for sale. Some of them were bought by representatives of other museums, but some items could be bought by private individuals as well. And it was an indication of the sheer volume of archaeological material that was coming out of excavations at that period. So it appears that Frederick Wingfield Digby must have acquired the cartonnage in this way, as a kind of item surplus to requirements by the Egyptian Museum. Since that time, it's been at Sherborne Castle in Dorset until last year, when it was acquired by the British Museum.
Wonderful, isn't it? I hope you can join us next time to see how we go about turning this object into this. If you haven't already subscribed, do so now. We'll notify you when the next one's ready.